I'm John Miglosh for the Wisconsin DMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. Okay, let's see what we got queued up here. I just want to play a little of this. This is Microsoft Sam and his rendition of every ad we get to look at in the lockdown. Somber music plays. Publix, Faraway, Remax, Samsung, Apple, Kia, Budweiser, FedEx. I can't read that one. Lincoln, Heineken, Facebook. I didn't realize.
First opened our doors.
Since 1926.
Since 1978.
For 60 years.
For 75 years.
For over 80 years.
In 90 years.
Over 100 years.
Nationwide has been on your side.
Restaurants have always been there for you.
Nissan has been with you through thick and thin.
We will do what we've always done.
Take care of people.
We're people.
People.
People. People.
People.
People. Family.
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 Families.
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 Even now.
Especially now.
Especially now.
Right now.
Now more than ever.
More than ever.
Today, more than ever.
Today, more than ever.
In times like this.
At times like these.
During these difficult times.
In these troubled times.
Challenging times.
Trying times.
In these times of uncertainty.
During this time of great uncertainty.
During these uncertain times.
During these uncertain times.
In uncertain times.
In uncertain times. Uncertain times.
Unprecedented times.
Unprecedented times.
Unprecedented times.
This unprecedented moment in our history.
It's time of social distancing.
While things have slowed down.
As we turn more inside.
While the doors may be...
Anyway, I'll put the link to it. It's just sickening, if you ask me. Sickening. It was funny for a while, but it goes on for 3.5 minutes of just the same tripe that we're getting introduced to by marketing. So let's kick over to Fishburne, my favorite, who says, this is the uncertain in generic advertising in these uncertain times. Right? Now we all need is some somber piano music and a B-roll of empty streets, and we'll be ready to advertise whatever brand this is for. It's scary. It's scary how bad this is, how bad those ads are, how terrible that is. And and he quotes Microsoft, it's a sign that it's time for something new, the same formulaic playbook, that better too serious than sorry. If using any form of humor is completely inappropriate, as if any humor is inappropriate. Humor is more important than ever. That's why you watch this show. And he says there's a couple of ads he likes. The WhatsApp, which I already showed you. The Burger King couch potato rots or something like that. And I love this part right here. It says, our first poster seen by one runner and one pigeon. There's the pigeon. Classic, typical, right? Just when we decide to do our first outdoor ad, at least it's funny, right? For some kind of crisps, some kind of snack. Okay, so, so that's it for Tom Fishburne. Wonderful. But on that note, let's go over and see some ads he would like. Okay, enough of that. It's just silly stuff. Oh, it won't let me pause it. Okay, so now let's go back to Coors Light. I was so happy.
Do you know how George Washington kept his troops motivated? He made sure his men had beer. How about the Great Depression? It turns out that was pretty sucky too. But you know what they did? They called for an end to Prohibition. Did it solve anything? Of course not. But it did help them press on. Which brings us to today. Suckiness of historical proportions. Now, we know this won't fix it, but how about some beer? Go to @CoorsLight on Twitter and tell us who could use a six-pack, and we'll buy them one. Because if history's taught us anything, it's that sometimes we could all just use a beer.
Now, sadly, Coors Light, if you're from Wisconsin, isn't even beer. It's basically Rocky Mountain water in a can. And you can get cheaper stuff like Mountain Crest from 1890 or something, made in Monroe, Wisconsin, that is real beer. But I just wanted you to just see that. Okay, so this brings up a couple of things. First, I want to show you, we did get the, I got to always watch what I'm broadcasting, not just what I'm looking at. Okay, we converted the zip code data, unemployment data, through the 18th of this month, so it's really up to date, from basically March 1st to April 18th. We converted that so we can see both the change, and we can compare the change from July. We also have a variable for that. We created several variables that give you basically a per capita look at unemployment, well, percentages, a per capita look based on Department of Labor statistics. And if you don't have that and you're not using it in your marketing, look at the difference between Michigan and Wisconsin. Oops, right there. There you go. Between Michigan and Wisconsin, right? It's a staggering difference. And Kentucky and Tennessee is another good one. Just stunning. So, if you're doing mailing, you may want to think, if you've got something, you know, credit card forgiveness or easy pay loans, you might want to go to Michigan. Otherwise, if you got a real product, you might want to go to Wisconsin. Okay, that said, let's get over to the next one. And I wanted to talk about this one a lot. So this is Mark Ritson. As usual, something to think about. Mark, and I've had this in the can for a bit. Mark talks about this village on the sort of the thumb of, if you think of England as a thumb, you know, this is kind of like this, and the thumb's out there. It's right over here. Oops, right over here on this side, toward like Denmark. It's one of the oldest recorded villages in the world, 800,000 years ago, supposedly. Although, don't get me started on dating methodology. But it's eroding, and it's if you look at the picture, the sea is coming. Well, the sea's been rising since Noah's flood, when it kind of stopped but slowed down a little bit. So it keeps on going, an inch per something century or something. But that's what he says is the state of marketing. Is we are a very much declining corporate force. Okay? And what's great about this article is he talks about it. Back in the 1960s, the 4 Ps came into favor. And because that's the way marketing departments were actually operating at Procter & Gamble, Ford, and the rest. And but now we're basically the communications department. Now, I think direct marketing fights that trend, but so few want real testing. So few want hard data. They just don't want it because they might fail. And of course, if you're a direct marketer, if it's in your blood, you know that failure is the best key to modification and change in strategy. The scientific method, people think, is all based on confirmation. But actually, all scientific breakthroughs are based in disconfirmation. Somebody figures out a way to break the current theory in observation, sees the problem, and comes up with a hypothesis which is testable to reevaluate it. And I can tell you that universally, the scientists fight it. They try to squash it, kill the guy, whatever, generally. The existing theory always fights the disconfirmation, tries to discredit it. That was the story of hand washing back in Vienna, back 150 years ago. The guy who discovered it was fired because the doctors didn't like the idea that they might be causing all kinds of women to die, since their death rate was 5 times the midwives. They didn't like it being pointed out, and they didn't like the implications. They fired the guy who died in an insane asylum. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Okay, but and the CMO report, which I look at most of the time, gives you a picture. Revenue growth. Is marketing really responsible for revenue growth? Not anymore. It's going down. Innovation, way down. Okay? Partly because they've adopted tools that don't give them any insight. But what the chief financial officer has realized is if you split test a little bit, you can find the better headline even if an AI tool generated the headline. That's the scary part. And when we're in unprecedented times, you can see the tripe that marketing departments come up with, which has always bothered me. It's always bothered me that there seems to be a reward for saying the same thing as every other brand, for saying things that have no measurability, have no impact, do nothing. For some reason, they get all the budget. And when I come in with testing, they keep me out of the meetings and the good snacks. And if you've been around me a little while, you've heard those messages. So the strategic priorities of market entry, revenue growth, and target market selection are all less marketing run these days. Marketing is infamously a discipline without discipline. Great point. Most marketers don't have any strategic skills whatsoever, and they resent people who do. But the CEO gets tired of it. The CEO gets tired of the marketing department spouting off about their creativity and yet not driving sales, not having any hard numbers. The finance guy says, prove it. And we've done a few sessions just in the last week or two about how marketing is saying they're asking me to prove it if I want more budget. And if you're not set up to prove it, then you're not going to get money and you're not going to get influence. Okay? So marketers are comfortable with the idea that marketers don't need marketing qualifications to be able to do marketing. See, I gravitated to direct marketing because I didn't have qualifications, and I thought, well, this is at least a way to win, to show what wins and what loses. I can get better, if nothing else, and the ads can get better. Scientificadvertising.com, check it out. Scientificadvertising.com. Okay, so what do we end up with? We end up with being the communications department. We're in charge of social media, public relations, CRM, and e-commerce, all increasingly under the control. With social. Basically, everything else is getting dissipated. Now, we got to get to the end because it's really good. So he was working with a company, and there was a marketing director friend, and she said we're having trouble with underpricing. We introduce a product and we underprice it. And he said underpricing is often the result of not having enough marketing input into the pricing process. This is fascinating stuff because I've done models that do competitive analysis to do price comparison, and I've done a lot of pricing analysis, though it isn't something, it's really tedious. Most marketers don't do it anymore, and they don't ask me for it. But he said, good marketers bring research, competitor perceptions, and value curves into the pricing decision to balance out the cost-based. See, everybody in finance wants to just say, well, what does it cost us? Okay, so we'll mark it up 30% or whatever they're used to, or 10%. And you miss huge opportunities. And basically, marketing is a little like poker. You need to maximize your opportunities and minimize your losses. It's not about the cards. Everybody's going to get the same kind of wins and losses. Wins and loses? Oh, well. So, So marketers with a little bit bigger picture should offset sales and finance people. That's why you need them both. Okay? So he said, well, did you have your marketers involved? She said, have you seen them? They're the coloring in department. I asked them for pricing advice. She continued almost without a breath, and they will suggest a cleaner font for the price tags. Well, that's happened to me a lot in my career. Okay. My senior clients' frustrations are borne out in Mormon's new CMO survey. It's there for everyone to see. We are Habsburg, fiddling with the local notice board while the North Sea approaches. It will eventually engulf everyone. Very rarely does a marketing person get to the CEO position because they just don't have the discipline to drive sales, to develop strategic insights, to make money. If you want to make money, you need to find a direct marketer who lived and died by making good guesses, by analyzing data, by putting it in the real world and seeing what happened. And if you don't have that, then you're going to have the crisis generic ads that all your competitors have as well. I'm John Miglosh. Have a great day. Bye-bye.